I'm going to open up Pandora's box in this video, and so I've been talking a lot lately about high-end rating and analyzing numbers, but part of the problem with talking about that is that most of us simply do not care to be at that level. Like at all. And that's okay, and has everything to do with your own personal goals of rating in Final Fantasy XIV. So let's just talk about rating goals here. Well, some people might throw their hands in the air and just be like, I am rating because I want to. Then heck yeah, you do it. No hesitation there, because don't let anyone stop you or tell you otherwise. This is a video game, and if that brings you joy just to do it, then let no one tell you otherwise. I think for a lot of us, it can be actually an important question to ask. Why? Why am I waking up at this exact time? Why am I scheduling in this exact raid? Why am I fighting this exact same boss for like months sometimes on end? Why? Really, with rating, there are going to be two phases in my mind. We're going to have progression and then optimization. And while I could go over the top and break things down into further subcategories, I feel like less is more with this sort of thing. I'd argue, and argue wholeheartedly though, that most raiders in Final Fantasy XIV that choose to raid at all, whether it be Savage or Ultimate level, are doing so at the progression level. Most players that take part in raiding that I know are just excited to progress on the fight casually, maybe meeting 4 hours a week and then down that raid tier eventually over a course of a few months. While people might glamorize the top 1% of players and have that group like that does 8 hours of prog every day, every single day until the tier is cleared and draft strategies on virtual whiteboards, reality is for many of these people that this is actually their job and primary source of income. And hold the phone on that, because I need to disclaimer this because someone might try and misconstrue that. Like, how to say it, some of them are making like 6 figures or way more than that. Like when you're talking about ad revenue, Twitch subs, donation, bits, sponsorships, which I've gotten a few that I've actually unfortunately turned down, just because I didn't feel like me starting to go into like mobile apps would be appropriate for the channel, regardless if it was a $500 tag or not. But my point is, like, with everything like that goes on, this is not meant as a negative thing. Like, these people are definitely killing it. But just to bring us back to that point, is the point of why I was talking about that is when we're talking about the 1% of players that can do that with the 8 hours and the whiteboard drafting and like the first raid day strats, this is an extremely rare position to be in, and to dedicate yourself to raiding at that level and still be able to order a pizza is super rare. Now on the flip side, for most players, once the raid has been defeated, the mechanics have been learned, they're kind of just over it, and then they stay to farm the weekly raids. Well, a few of them stay to do that actually, and then fewer yet still stay once they've gone their best in slot for their one job that they play. Often these players are leaving for completely different games until the next raid cycle. Like, I remember people that jumped off the train because of Cyberpunk. I remember people that jumped off the train because of New World. There are many games out there, and they were just like, okay, I've understood this raid, and I'm just okay, like, unsubbing until the next one. And actually, I know that this is probably a relatable point for anyone watching this video. Like, everyone knows a handful of these people that fit in this category. If I'm being super honest, I know very, and I cannot emphasize it enough, very few raiders that are aiming to hit a 90th or 99th percentile parse or optimize. Like, that is an incredibly distant goal from clearing or farming. And note, I did say farming there, because farming is different than optimization. And like, I'm not putting anyone down by saying all of this. It has everything to do though with goals and what goals for raiding you have in Final Fantasy XIV, and everyone's going to be different, hence why I'm bringing it up very transparently here. But now let's try and define what progression is. So progression is any point between your group starting a fight and actually clearing it. It is really that simple. Let's not overcomplicate it, guys. You're literally just trying to progress yourself from mechanic 1 to mechanic set 2 to mechanic set 1337, or over 9001. It is, if I'm blunt, a very repetitive process that involves a lot of patience. A lot of patience. And you can actually really tell who isn't going to clear the tier if they're already raging 10 pulls into a tier. That kind of nonsense usually is the one pointing fingers at everyone else and wondering why they weren't invited to the group after the 5th screaming Discord blow up. I've been there, done that. Honestly, I can't say it enough. Nobody signs up for a raid group because they think, oh ho, I want to get into some petty, meaningless video game drama today. Nobody does. Nobody. But that really highlights that progression involves patience. It involves a slow buildup of skill. You don't snap your fingers and just clear Shiva Savage. No way. If you could do that, then honestly it would strongly diminish the value of it. Like, trying to convince anyone to care about beating Unsync Ifrit. Like, I might be proud of you if you're a sprout, but if you're a veteran, or you bring this up to like a veteran players, I think you're probably going to get a lot of puzzled, confused looks, wondering if it's like some trick question or bait and switch. Like, okay, you defeated Unsynced Ifrit at level 80. Yeah. But now let's talk about optimization and define that out. So this is the complete flip side of that coin, and we're talking about 99th percentile parses and people trying to push the rankings as high as they can on FFLogs, and we're talking about the people that not only cleared the fight, but have mastered inside out and backwards all of the tricks of the fight. They don't just know how to clear, they know every mechanic, every movement, every nook and cranny of that specific fight, almost to like a robotic level. Talking about people that know like 19 or something different like openers to their job, who have like down packed like practice on a training dummy probably like 10 hours for each of those rotations and just knows everything. And like this kind of group is the kind of group where it's just like you are more afraid of like the damage down debuffs that like savage raids are popping out all over the place these days than dying. Because I mean, if you're just dead, then you only need to wait for 7 other people to jump off of the side of the platform to reset, right? And yeah, that's the thing. And I should say, like, that is that kind of group. That is the expectation and the goal. That's not a surprising thing. The goal of this is to get as high of a ranking as possible, and at this level, mistakes are considered pretty much to be beneath you, like strongly beneath you. Like I've seen some of these optimization groups recruit, and they expect literally like 50 clears on a particular savage fight before they even consider taking you in, as well as you're probably going to have to do an interview, what do you call it? It's like a trial run, and then they're also probably going to interview you. It is actually much more like a job application than anything. And likewise, I know that I have just severely turned off a lot of people. We're talking about optimization rating here, guys. It's a very different beast. And honestly, from that, this is where a lot of the term elitism starts to stem from and starts to really gain traction. Because if you just said, oh yeah, I need to interview you 3 times, and then we're going to trial you through all of these different raids, and we're also going to need your parses, we're also going to need any of your logs, we're also going to need all these different breakdowns. You might even get raid references in there, and yes, apparently that is the thing. I have definitely been told about that. Like, this is like where a lot of people start to gain traction on the word elitism, and then they point at all of these things. They're like, this is all elitist. But the reality is that they just simply have an intensely different goal than you, and this is why they go through the processes of interviewing and seeing like, do you actually want to do this? They aren't there to clear. They have already cleared it so many times. They aren't even really there to help you with your rotation. Like, they're not going to be like jerks. Like, there are rotation groups filled with really awesome people that I actually genuinely love to bits. Would I ever raid with them? No, because I'm not at the level where I want to optimize. Like, I just haven't invested that time. I'm choosing to spend my time on making a website, on YouTube channel, on software development. I'm not in that ballpark. Or to like even like go to the gym with like my boyfriend, name it. Like, it's just a different mindset. It's a different goal here. Like, these people are here to optimize their run, maximize melee uptime, to say the least. It's more like, whoa, they're like doing some crazy stuff that's way beyond maximizing melee uptime. They're there to learn new strategies, to get that 99th percentile parse and high ranking on FF logs. And that's fine, that's not elitism, that is a goal. And because we are talking about goals here, this isn't elitism. This is why this kind of video is so important. I know that this will actually probably get so few views on it, but I still feel like this is a topic that everyone should listen to, because it's like, that's not elitism. They have a goal. You want to clear. They have already cleared. This is not elitism. This is called, I have played this game and I want to play it for this goal. So now this gets into my first point about raid goal setting. And so it's actually really probably the most essential point, and this is going to be the longest by far. You need to know your time limits, you need to know your boundaries, and you need to be very honest with yourself before you get in. If you are just like, I'm going to sign up for this raid group that is raiding 8 hours a day, 3 days a week, you need to, I would err for people to be on the side of like, how to say it? Guys, people want me to like do these videos like raw, and this is so hard sometimes. I would tell people to like err on the side of caution rather than assuming, oh, 8 hours is going to be easy. Really think about it, because 8 hours is a long block. But I mean, 8 hours, are all these raid groups doing it? No, but a lot of them are doing 5 hours. Like, if you're looking at some of the new recruiting T groups that are trying to get T done before Endwalker, they're asking for 5 hours, 4 days a week, some of them. And that's not unreasonable. That's their goal. That's their right to ask for that. But reality is, most raiders I know are working another job, and the list of people that I know who I've raided with or am friends with that go to raid down the laundry list are like, some of them are big partners at firms, some of them are lawyers, some of them are paramedics, software developers, or literally doctorates holding scientists like my boyfriend. Which, yeah, I get it. I feel like I'm playing in the kiddie pool compared to him. Like, I get it. I am very, very blessed to have him in my life. I get it. Like, people, I get it. it's unfortunately just my lot in life right now, but yeah. And honestly, just combining all of this together, like, we have some amazing people in our community. We truly, truly do. And this is one reason why I avoid being preachy on this channel, because holy shit, like, it's no. Like, through this game, I've even met like single mothers and single fathers through Final Fantasy XIV, and truly our community is incredible and diverse. But the fact is, cutting all that short, all that mushy stuff, is this leaves raiders, most raiders, to be able to do like 2 hours twice a week for 4 hours total a week, and that is their limit. And this is why I'm trying to stress it to everyone, is it's just like a lot of people see these big numbers and then they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then they realize, whoa, I'm in way too deep. Gaming has always been and always will be a secondary activity for 99.9% of us, and it's really important that you need to weigh what your current activities are. Like, at least for me, going into my own thing, because people like my authenticity of me to be like here. So my own future activities, and I know if some people who have been like following on the Discord server, on the Twitter, know that I've been getting back into the yoga and into the gym with name it. So I need to work out or do yoga class. Honestly, it's gonna go like every day of the week, all 7 days. I used to do 6 days a week with Sundays off, and when I was 20 years old, guys, I was like such good shape. Like, I was ready for bodybuilding stuff, and oh, post 2020, I'm horrible, honestly, and it's so embarrassing imagining myself going on camera, but point is, that is going back into full swing. Next up is I'm doing YouTube. I'm loving it. I love the community. This is such a feel good. Next up is maintaining and expanding features on my website, which I know that if I say soon, TM, will result in people taking a baseball bat to me. It's soon, I swear. The next thing is that I'm hopefully gonna stream, and I'm right now really leaning towards just doing it here on YouTube, just having fun, because for me, I want that interactivity. Like, you guys give me life. You honestly, through all of this crappy time that I've been going through, have been such a powerful force of good. It's just like, I just literally responded to a tweet like a little bit a while ago from just before I recorded, and they were just like, creators, when you feel down, like, what do you do? And I'm just like, or what do you say? And I'm like, I listen. I just listen. I listen to the roar of the positivity of the community, and I'm like, this gives me life. This actually gives me life. But then, sorry, I should move on with the list, sorry. So a lot of you say that you like the unscripted raw me, so there you go. But the next thing on the list is that I need to make sure to make time that I'm a good partner to my boyfriend, who's, to be frank, doing a very intense job as an actual scientist, which, I mean, talk about making me feel like I'm splashing in a kiddie pool, but I need to be there for him. Then on the less hopeful, or rather more bleak side of things, I've been applying for some software dev jobs, and nothing's really panning out, but if I get one, then there's that's going to be on the list. As some recruiters have said, you are unconventional, which doesn't make me cry at all. At all. I honestly should have started grad school when I was laid off. Lessons learned, hindsight's 2020. But like, that is my list of things to do, and everyone can generate a long list. Many of you likely way longer than that, but in general, adding any activity to your roster of daily duties, it's important to take note of what you're doing. And this is just very boring general life advice, but yeah, it applies to rating in full as well. Which anyone who has rated has probably encountered a few people that hit what I call the rating wall. I don't know what the actual proper term is. It's not something that I hear that often, but this is like a phenomenon where I see all of a sudden someone in my raid group who has had fun this entire time and is enjoying the video game and rating, like, they start to become very bitter, very dark, very almost malevolent sometimes when they're like talking. There's like this like sassy, bitter, like nasty tune to them. And almost every single time, in my experience, it's led to the complete group just completely disbanding shortly after because morale tanks. Other people start to become bitter and resentful too. All of a sudden, the normal mistakes of prog, that you're doing prog, everyone's going to die to mechanics, I'm sorry. Welcome to Prague, this is how it is. But these normal mistakes of Prague, how to say it, these become like drama, berating, criticizing, nasty, snarky blow-ups every single time, and it turns into this messy drama that honestly no one has time for and no one asked to be involved in. And so I'd opt always to focus on this first goal and plan ahead and figure out what you actually can do and can adhere to. And it's like, even if you have the time space, are you going to want to do this for like 5 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, even if the product is really slow, doing it that set amount of time a week? Because nothing sucks more than getting 5 weeks into prog and then having someone in the group or a few people starting hurling explicitives at one another because you wiped at Nail Van Darnus for the second time that day. Like, that's the worst. And then the group falls apart and it's like, well, time to get another UCOB group and then reprog it. That's always fun. Not speaking from personal experience at all. Terrified. My second point is just be honest with yourself. What is your point of raiding? This is going to be a much shorter note than the last, but it's very important to take note on why you want to raid. Like, are you here for the prestige and to show off? Maybe you want to start to look more towards gearing towards ranking and optimization. Maybe you're just looking at clearing the fight. Like, how about, how to say it? Like, maybe you're just here for the experience and you want to see the fight rather than worry about the nitty-gritty details about particular optimization strategies or melee uptime, or the exact time as a black mage you should lay down your ley line circle here, teleport to an ally, and then return to the ley lines to minimize how many casts are lost. That is the thing, guys, and this is what optimization really needs you to think about. Or there's like a third alternative. Maybe you're just there to hang out with friends and it's more of a bonding activity rather than any particular goal. And speaking for myself, it's largely the third point, and the third point is why I very seriously want to start my own raid group as well. I love interacting with people in the community, and it's why I'm even here in the first place. Like, I certainly do not make enough money, especially compared to my boyfriend. Like, it's truly nothing in comparison. For me, I am here because it's fun, it's about the people, it's about the heart, it's about the soul, the memories, the laughter, and fun. And that's what motivates me. And it's not to say that it's distinct from the first or the second point, but rather, you're never going to see me care about optimization in a group where we have like a ranting, raving lunatic. To be frank, nothing will make me want to run farther away. That completely defeats the point. I don't care if you can get me a 99th percentile parser and a high ranking in FFLogs. I don't even check FFLogs rankings that often. Like, I'll check it for like data for a video, but I don't give a shit. Like, in general, I'm pretty chill, and a little bit of tangent here, so chill that sometimes I get in my DMs like really nasty things. Like, recently I made a comment on Twitter basically saying like I'm super chill and like leave whatever comments you want. It's like, heck, even if you're making fun of my voice, like, I know I'm squeaky. It's just like I can, or like my enunciation of words, like I just take it in stride. I'm just so chill. But some people like really took that the wrong way and like were offended at it, and I'm like, I'm chill. I mean, I've been here for a year. I've pretty much seen everything. So here we are. I'm just like, just leave a comment. Like, have fun, whatever. It ain't that serious. It really isn't. It's not that serious. But like, my point to come back is just like, I want to surround myself with people who are just similarly chill, like people that are like relaxed. Like, I can't be a long time around someone that's uptight, constantly angry, or constantly upset. It really does actually throw me off. Like, I can take a lot of things in stride, but like when you put me in like the same room as someone who's like super negative for a few hours, like it just sucks the soul out of me. It is so painful. My third point, I'm gonna kind of make a little bit shorter because I do see the time on this video, but basically it's like, be honest about how patient you are with the group. Like, if you know that you are prone to anger, if you know that you're maybe just a little bit more on edge, especially like if you go past 2-hour blocks, just look for groups where it's just like, we're just going to be doing 2 hours twice a week. It's going to be super casual. That way you don't force yourself into a situation where you're going for like 4 hours and you're like foaming from the mouth, just like, oh, at the end. I think that it's also really important to really find a group that can maybe just deal with that better, because some groups are a little bit more sensitive. Like, I know myself, I'm a little bit more sensitive to like, if someone is like yelling at me, I'll be like, oh my god, I need to get out of here. Like, my flight like reflexes kick in and I'm like, I gotta get out of here, guys. Like, this is freaking me out. Like, sorry, I gotta go. It's just like, I've had groups before, like when I was farming like Diamond Weapon Extreme, where there was this one dude who came in and he's just like, oh, I made this strat, I was with some big content creator, and then they like blamed me and my boyfriend. We were the two healers, that's just what our main rules are, and then they were blaming us, and then like they left the group and it was just a whole mess, and I'm just like, oh my god. But it's just like, if you can find a group that is like able to like deal with that, then all the props to you. That's what you should be looking out for. Anyhow, this video is literally intended to be like 8 minutes long, but unfortunately I actually deep dive on these topics since I'm so passionate. But what do you guys think? Like, when it comes to raid group, what do you usually think about with the goals? I think that, like, obviously, like, I'm only one person, so that these are only my ideas, but like, what do you guys think? Leave in the comments. Anyhow, take care and have a fantastical day.